The world went silent as I pushed the bedroom door open. There was my wife, Emily, in our bed with another man. It wasn't violent, it wasn't loud. It was quiet, intimate, and 1,000 times more devastating. My mind went completely blank, a white screen of shock where a 10-year marriage used to be. To understand how a 5-week business trip ended with my entire life collapsing, we need to go back just a few minutes earlier. The Uber ride from the airport felt like the longest part of my trip. 5 weeks in Seattle, 5 weeks of negotiating contracts, living out of a suitcase, and staring at pictures of my wife and kids on my phone. All of it was for them, to build a future so secure that we'd never have to worry. I walked up the driveway to our Portland home, gift bags rustling in one hand, my suitcase in the other. I could still smell the faint scent of the cologne Emily had given me for my birthday. I smiled, whispering to myself, "Almost there." I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Silence. That was the first red flag. Usually, the kids would come running, a tidal wave of noise and hugs. I'm home," I called out, my voice echoing in the stillness. No answer. The house was clean, almost too clean. A bouquet of fresh flowers, not ones I had sense at on the kitchen island. Next to it was a mug of coffee, a wisp of steam still rising from the surface. She was here. But something felt deeply, fundamentally wrong. And then I heard it. A man's voice, low and soft, drifting from our bedroom. "You know I love you." My blood ran cold. I stopped breathing. Every muscle in my body froze. I dropped the gift bags and walked down the hall on silent feet, my heart hammering against my ribs. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. I put my hand on the wood, held my breath, and pushed it open. And there they were. Emily, my wife of a decade, tangled in our sheets with a younger man. He was shirtless, his hand resting on her cheek, their faces just inches apart. The scene didn't register as real. It was like watching a movie about someone else's tragedy. I didn't scream, I didn't throw things. I calmly walked to the dresser, placed my keys down with a soft click, and turned to face them. My voice was unnervingly steady. "What is this?" They both jumped, as if electrocuted. Emily scrambled to pull the sheets up, her face a mask of panic. The Mantha boy really fumbled for his clothes, his eyes wide with fear. "Emily, Jason, it's not what it looks like." Her voice was a desperate stammer. "Me, then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my wife is in our bed with a stranger." The man, visibly shaking, pulled on his shirt. "Tyler, I'm Tyler. We work together." I didn't even look at him. My eyes were locked on Emily. "Me? Why is he here, Emily?" There was a long, terrible silence. She couldn't meet my gaze. Finally, she whispered the words that killed me more than the affair itself. "Emily, because he understands me." That was it. Not a lie, not an excuse. A reason. In her mind, this was justified. And that broke me more than any physical act ever could. I didn't storm out. I walked over and sat on the edge of the bed we had shared for 10 years. I wasn't angry anymore. Just hollow. Me. I just spent 5 weeks breaking my back to build a life for us. For our kids. I missed them so much I could barely sleep. And this is the home I returned to? Tears started streaming down her face, but they had no effect on me. "Me, our daughter told me on the phone that you cry sometimes at night. I thought it was because you missed me. I thought it was stress from managing the house alone. But this was your secret, wasn't it? This is why you were crying." I finally turned to Tyler, who was frozen by the door. My voice dropped even lower. "Me. Get out. Now." "Tyler, Me. You heard me. You don't understand her. You don't love her. You're just a convenient excuse for her to avoid her own life. Now get out of my house." He didn't need to be told a third time. He scrambled out, and the front door slammed shut behind him. Little did I know, the understanding she claimed to have with him would shatter in a way neither of them expected. The update on that is truly something else. Emily followed me as I walked to the living room and sank into my armchair. "Emily, I still love you, she pleaded. I didn't mean for this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. I looked at her, truly looked at her, for what felt like the last time. There was no hate in my heart, just a profound and terrible clarity. Me. Love doesn't do this, Emily. Love doesn't hide. It doesn't sneak around. It doesn't whisper lies in the dark, while the person who trusts you is thousands of miles away, working for your future. You made a choice. Now you have to live with it. I slept in the guest room that night. The next morning, I was up before anyone else. I made breakfast for the kids, my movements calm and deliberate. I was their father. I was their rock. And their world wasn't going to fall apart. Not on my watch. So, before we get to the update, it's time for the final verdict. Based on everything you've heard so far, who was in the wrong here? Cast your vote in the comments. If you enjoy stories with satisfying endings, show your support by hitting that like and subscribe button. It truly helps the channel grow. Now for the part you've all been waiting for, the final update. In the weeks that followed, Emily moved back in with her mother. She sent a barrage of text apologies, excuses, pleas. I never replied. I didn't block her number. I just chose to put my energy elsewhere. I became a full-time father. I learned to braid my daughter's hair. I helped with homework. I cooked every meal, and slowly, I brought laughter back into our home. I also started writing. I wrote about the pain, the betrayal, and the slow process of rebuilding your own identity when someone else tries to burn it to the ground. To my shock, people responded. My blog went viral. About a year later, a message appeared in my inbox from a woman named Lena. She was a single mom, left by her husband when her son was just 2 years old. She understood the landscape of a broken heart. We started talking, first about our kids, then about our fears. One night, I admitted to her, I'm scared to fall in love again. I don't know if I can ever trust someone like that. Her reply changed my perspective. She wrote, then don't fall. Just walk beside me. No expectations. Just presence. And that's what we did. 2 years have passed now. Emily and I are divorced. She sees the kids on a schedule we agreed on because they deserve to have a mother. But the trust, the friendship, the love I once had for her, that's gone forever. As for Tyler, he disappeared from her life less than a month after I came home, proving my point that he was never the solution, just a symptom. Last fall, I published my first book. It's called I Didn't Stay, a story of choosing self-respect over betrayal. It became a bestseller. This isn't a story about forgiveness, because some things can't be fixed. It's a story about strength. I didn't scream or fight. I walked away with my dignity and became more than I ever was before. Betrayal isn't a mistake, it's a choice, and you can't build a future with someone who was willing to break your past. Author's commentary. This story is a powerful example of how dignity can be the ultimate weapon against betrayal. Jason demonstrates incredible strength of character. In a moment that could break anyone, he doesn't succumb to the chaos of emotion. He doesn't deny reality. Instead, he meets it head-on with cold clarity, instinctively understanding that the only way forward is not back toward the ruins of the past, but ahead toward building something new on the solid foundation of self-respect. His wife Emily's reaction is the classic behavior of someone caught in the act. Her attempts at justification are likely driven not just by the shock of being discovered, but by the sudden realization of the depth of her actions and the weight of their consequences. She lost more than just a husband, she lost the person who was her anchor. One can only hope that this devastating experience served as a lesson, forcing her to reevaluate her own values.